the remarkable role Kerrer played as an RAF base during the Second World War.
What would it have been like back during the dark days of World War II?
It was a very busy place. It had been appropriated and requisitioned, in fact, by the Royal Air Force in 1939, and this would have been an absolute hive of activity, and this was probably the most westerly of the RAF Coastal Command bases, so this was absolutely key in the prosecution of the Battle of the Atlantic.
During the war, this base was vital for providing safe passage for convoys making the treacherous journey across the Atlantic.
Along the vital westerly approaches to the British Isles, the U-boats lie in waiting. 4, 5, and 6 of them together, working in flotillas.
But it wasn't just the location that proved decisive, because stationed here was a very special fleet. This was the home of the RAF's Flying Boat Squadron.
An amphibian equally at home on land or water.
Looking across the bay here, you'd have seen up to a dozen very large flying boats moored across here. 112-foot wingspans, which is a very large aircraft.
Absolutely enormous.
With a crew of 10. They could stay in the air for up to 16 hours. They could forage or range as far as maybe 1,600 miles out into the Atlantic. What they accomplished in those days was absolutely astonishing. As Churchill pointed out, if we'd lost the Battle of the Atlantic, we would have lost the war.
Atlantic patrol makes few headlines. The merchant seamen of 1,000 plodding convoys know the friendly shadow of their wings.
The remarkable range of these aircraft would be vital in protecting convoys from U-boat attack. Extra strong wings meant they could carry huge amounts of fuel, and there was no need to build runways. The ocean was their landing strip.
A warship with wings, her sturdy hull was to withstand the roughest seas.
In 1941, it was the flying boats based here at Kerrer which were instrumental in the sinking of one of Hitler's most feared weapons, the Bismarck.
The Bismarck, the largest battleship afloat, and called unsinkable by our Nazi builders, represented Hitler's challenge to Britain's ancient supremacy at sea.
The Bismarck was a formidable pocket battleship with 8 15-inch guns. Now, had that got in amongst the convoys, the Royal Navy at that time had very little in a convoy system to match that sort of firepower. It cannot be understated just what a threat a vessel like the Bismarck would have posed to a very vulnerable convoy system at that time.
From the Admiralty, the order went out, find the Bismarck and sink her.
Operations were put in place to trace the Bismarck, shadowing it until surface vessels of the Royal Navy could engage it and hopefully sink it, which was a direct order from Churchill.
Somewhere under that mystery of fog, the Bismarck was steaming under forced draft for a safe haven.
3 aircraft were dispatched on the 26th of May to cover vast swathes of the North Atlantic looking for the Bismarck.
Then a rift in the clouds, a telltale wake. Quarry sighted.
Bismarck, although it was lost after its first sighting, was picked up again, and a continuous chain of relief aircraft, Catalinas, set out to shadow the aircraft until it was closed by the aircraft carrier Ark Royal and heavy surface vessels of the Navy.
After a pursuit lasting more than 2 days, the Bismarck was finally sunk on the 27th of May, 1941.
I imagine very few people who sail in here and use this marina have any idea of the significance of the waters around here to the war effort.
Absolutely crucial.
Leaving Neil at the boatyard,